Imagine a bullet tearing through your stomach. You survive. Imagine another ripping into your groin. You survive. Imagine a shot destroying one of your eyes, and you go back to the front with a black patch like it's nothing. Imagine an explosion pulverizing your left hand, and when the medics hesitate, you tear off your own fingers so they'll amputate, and you can get back to fighting sooner. Imagine being shot in the skull, the ankle, the hip, the leg, and the ear. Surviving 2 plane crashes, getting captured in your 60s and still trying to escape 5 times. This isn't fiction. This is the real life of Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart. The soldier death couldn't kill. Stick around to the end, because I'm going to tell you the exact line he used to sum up his life. And you won't forget it. To understand the legend, you have to meet the young man. Adrian was born in 1880 in Brussels, into a well-off family. He had everything lined up for a comfortable life of studies, elegant salons, and a respectable career. But comfort didn't suit him. Routine weighed on him. His compass pointed toward chaos. At 19, when the Boer War broke out in South Africa, he saw his chance, real action, real danger. There was a problem. He was underage and not a British subject. His solution? He lied about his age, took a different name, and enlisted. That's how the longest, most intense relationship of his life began. The one he had with war. In South Africa, he got his baptism by fire. He was badly wounded in the stomach and groin. For anyone else, that would have been the end. For him, it was the beginning. He went home, healed enough, and returned. He had a certainty few people have so early. He'd found his element. World War I tested him for real. In 1914, in Somaliland, fighting the so-called dervish state, a bullet tore through his face and destroyed his left eye. Most would have asked for a discharge. He returned to service with a black patch, as if war were a dance he refused to miss, even if he was missing an eye. That patch wasn't just a symbol, it was a promise that he wouldn't quit. Then came the Western Front, hell made of mud and steel. Artillery turned men into shadows. At Ypres, during a bombardment, Adrian's left hand was reduced to a shapeless mass. The field medics didn't want to amputate in the chaos of the moment. Seeing that every undecided minute kept him away from the front, he made the decision for everyone. He tore off his fingers, one by one. Later, they amputated the entire hand. His reaction? Worrying about how he'd open a bottle of wine next time. Gallows humor. Iron will. The wounds kept piling up. Skull, ankle, hip, leg, ear. It was as if fate tried, again and again, to put a period at the end of his sentence. He kept adding commas. His men watched him walk through bullets as if he were immune. There was something hypnotic in his calm, in the way he led from the front, standing up, shaking off the mud, and carrying on. On the Somme, his courage became legend. He led, rallied, charged, and charged again. For his bravery, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, Britain's highest military honor, and yet he never posed as a hero. He had the matter-of-fact air of someone who doesn't see what he does as extraordinary. If this story is surprising you, take a second to drop a like. It costs you nothing and helps YouTube show this to more people who, like you, enjoy lives that seem impossible. And tell me in the comments, in one word, how you'd describe Adrian so far. I'm reading. The war ended, but not his relationship with it. In 1939, when the world caught fire again, Adrian was nearly 60. He limped. He was missing an eye and a hand. Most people would have written the word retirement. He wrote return. Churchill called? Adrian said yes. Norway was his first stop. His arrival couldn't have been more dramatic. The plane crashed into a frozen fjord. At his age, anyone might have given up. He swam to shore, shook off the water, found his men, and took command as if that baptism of ice were just a dinner-table anecdote. That was Adrian, the man who turned the impossible into routine. In 1941, Churchill gave him another mission, fly to Yugoslavia. The Mediterranean greeted him with fire. His Wellington bomber was shot down. Again the impact. Again the sea. Again, swimming toward life. He made land. Bad news. It was the coast of Libya, controlled by Italy, then allied with Germany. He was captured. The end of the story? Not with Adrian. They locked him in a castle prison for high-ranking officers, a 61-year-old man with an eye patch, an empty sleeve, and a wound history that read like a novel, imprisoned in a fortress. For anyone else, it was an epilogue. For him, it was a new chapter. He organized and led 5 escape attempts. The most famous, he and other prisoners spent months digging a tunnel. When he finally got out, he spent 8 days walking disguised as an Italian peasant. Picture it. Tall, unmistakable, a black eye patch, an empty sleeve, not a word of Italian, trying to blend in among farmers. He was recaptured, yes, but his audacity borders on the legendary. It wasn't just that he tried, it was the ease of someone who believes no cage can contain him. If you've made it this far, I want to know. Which of these scenes seems most unbelievable to you? The patch in Somaliland, the hand at Ypres, the plane in Norway, or his escapes in Italy? Tell me in the comments. And if you like true stories that outdo fiction, consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell. Every week, we rescue a life worth telling. No fluff, just as it was. The most surreal part of his captivity came in 1943. Italy wanted to surrender in secret. They needed a bridge to the Allies. Whom did they choose as messenger? Their most unbreakable prisoner. They took Adrian out of prison, dressed him in civilian clothes, and sent him to Lisbon to help open the channel. Think about the irony. The prisoner turned negotiator. The enemy turned bridge. That was his life. Always against the current, always where you least expect him. You'd think rest would follow. Churchill thought otherwise. If there is anyone you can trust with an impossible mission on the far side of the world, it's the man who's failed to die so many times. Churchill appointed him his personal representative in China, alongside Chiang Kai-shek. He spent the last years of the war there, watching another front, another culture, another chessboard. One more continent added to his survivor's resume. When the war ended, Adrian retired for good. It was 1947, he was 67, with a list of wounds and scars that won't fit in a single story. He had led men in Africa, Europe, and Asia. He had survived everything war could throw at him. And then, finally he wrote. He titled his memoirs Happy Odyssey. In those pages, he left the line I promised you at the beginning. The one that defines his soul as brutally as it is honest. Frankly, I have enjoyed the war. Sit with that for a moment. It's not an invitation to glorify violence. It's the raw confession of a man who found his purpose in the heart of chaos. Some people are born for research, for art, for science. Adrian was born for danger, for leadership on the razor's edge, for that instant when everything shakes and someone has to say go. He died in 1963, at 83, in his bed in peace. Death, which had tried to claim him so many times, had to wait until he decided to leave. There's poetic justice in that. Now tell me, what do you take from a life like this? Some see recklessness, others courage, others an unfathomable sense of humor in the face of the inevitable. Above all, I see coherence. He lived the way he wanted and paid the price without complaint. And in a world where we often try to be everything to everyone, there's something deeply inspiring about someone who finds his calling, follows it to the very end, and doesn't apologize for it. If this story moved you, share it with someone who loves epic lives and improbable feats. It's the best way to keep these stories alive. And if you made it to the end, drop a patch in the comments so I know who you are. I love giving a shout out to those who watch the whole video. I also want your recommendations. Which almost impossible figure should we bring to the channel next? Think pilots, explorers, doctors, spies. History is full of hidden giants. Before we go, here is a quick community challenge. Sum up Adrian Carton de Wiart's life in 3 words. Mine are indestructible, defiant, loyal. What are yours? I'm reading. Thanks for coming along for the ride. If you enjoy true stories that hit harder than any movie, subscribe and ring the bell. Here we don't chase myths, we unearth them. And if YouTube brought you here by recommendation, welcome. I hope you stick around. See you in the next legend.